Today, we are going to learn about the space planning guidelines that shape how schools in Fulton County are designed and built. In construction and architectural design language, we call these guidelines educational specifications. That can be a mouthful, so we commonly just say ed specs. We'll also walk through some proposed changes to our ed specs to help you understand how that affects our school design process. The website where you found this presentation also has more helpful resources, including links to review the full 2025 proposal and a thought exchange survey to provide your feedback. But before we dive in, please know we truly appreciate your time and input. Fulton County Schools is gearing up for its next 5-year capital plan that will identify facility improvements, things like building additions, renovations, and even potential new schools. These projects are funded by eSPLOST, the 1 penny special purpose local option sales tax for education. As a Fulton County taxpayer and voter, your support has made it possible to create the best learning environments for our students. Thank you for being part of this important process. To give context, think of educational specifications as a planning tool. They help the school district and architects design learning spaces that support academic programs. Ed specs set standards for the number and size of instructional units needed to align with the school's educational goals. School board policy requires us to review these guidelines every 5 years to make sure our buildings continue to meet the needs of students and communities. The last update was in 2020, so now it's time for a refresh. If you're curious, you can find the 2020 document on the same webpage where you accessed this presentation. Now, let's talk about what ed specs are not. They don't make all schools identical. Every school is unique, and while we aim for consistency, buildings from different eras will naturally have design differences. A school from 1980 won't look the same as one from the 2000s, but that doesn't mean one is better than the other. The goal is to make improvements within the existing space while ensuring the best possible learning environment. Also, ed specs are about our instructional spaces and how they are used. Ed specs are not about the things we find inside a classroom. That falls under design requirements, which focus on things like lighting, furniture, types of flooring, and technology. Ed specs are about the spaces themselves, not what goes inside them. As we continue with updating our ed specs, it's important to know how they fit in with the school district's full educational strategy. The Fulton County School Board has defined various initiatives and priorities in its strategic plan, and this flows into our capital planning development. Our first step is to review our educational specifications, which we are doing now, before we create the next capital plan that will determine new construction, school renovations, and facility modification needs. We've had an extensive process to create the 2025 proposal that will be shared with the Fulton County School Board. First, we reviewed our entire school district inventory, which means we reviewed the number of rooms and instructional spaces within every Fulton County school. We examined every school to be sure we knew exactly how many rooms there were and their square footage, as well as the specialty spaces, such as the media center, career tech classrooms, music, art, physical education, and so on. With the help of our architects, we worked extensively with our district subject matter experts. We engaged the people most knowledgeable about the educational use of those spaces to give feedback on whether those areas were being used in the best ways. Those experts include district and school leaders, curriculum specialists, teachers, and school staff. Now, we're looking to you for your feedback. This is your opportunity to be a subject matter expert and use your expertise. Your feedback will be reviewed and considered for the final proposal being presented to the school board. Over the years, we've made significant updates and improvements to our school facilities, ensuring they meet the needs of students and educators. Because of this continuous progress, there are fewer major changes needed. For the 2025 update, we focused on 4 key areas: space adjustment, academic alignment, program review, and code compliance. First, we reviewed our current spaces to be sure they align with our program needs. Where warranted, we have proposed adjustments. We also reviewed our core academic programs and specialty areas such as services for exceptional children, performing arts, career tech, and athletics. We worked with Fulton County Schools subject matter experts to be sure educational spaces and programs are aligned. And finally, we checked for compliance with Georgia Department of Education requirements and regulatory building codes. In short, We are proposing minor adjustments to make any building we construct to be in line with the standards of those we've built or modified since 2020. You'll also see that we are proposing an ed spec for the K-5 LEAP program serving elementary students with severe behavioral issues. And finally, later on, we plan to create ed specs for differently sized schools outside of our traditional sizes of 850 students for elementary, 1,200 students for middle, and 1,850 for high schools. That work was begun in 2023 through some amendments and will continue. Let's get started with reviewing our elementary program first. This proposed update is for our traditionally sized elementary schools that are designed for 850 students and 53 instructional units. These proposed adjustments are based on both academic and compliance requests. The media center of each elementary school has 3 rooms designated as student collaborative spaces. One of these rooms will be designated as a multi-purpose space that can serve students in a variety of ways. For example, podcasting or as a makerspace. On the compliance side, we propose adding a washer and dryer space for custodial use. Schools already have washers and dryers near the kitchen, but health department regulations prevent custodial chemicals from being stored or used near food service areas. To meet these requirements, we're expanding the space to include a dedicated washer and dryer area for custodial staff. If you look at the subtotals on the chart, the average square footage for 2025 is very close to that in 2020. The difference is the 150 square feet being added for the custodial washer and dryer. Also, it's important to note that the subtotals don't fully represent the size of the school. It represents the inventory we talked about earlier, which is the classrooms, the administrative spaces, and the specialty spaces. The square footage doesn't include the hallways or bathrooms, or the other spaces that are necessary for a school but aren't used for learning and teaching. Let's move on to middle schools. This proposed update is for our traditionally sized middle schools that are designed for 1,200 students and 75 instructional units. Like the elementary program, middle school media centers will designate collaborative space to be multi-purpose space, so it can serve a variety of academic uses. And similar to before, we are proposing 150 square feet for the washer and dryer area for custodial use. Another code requirement is to designate multiple restrooms for activities open to the public, such as sporting events or performances. Just like the elementary chart, this shows that even though there are changes in the square footage, the total amount of middle school space is close to the same. The increases you see are from the space added for the washer and dryer area and the public restrooms. And as a reminder, the square footage doesn't include the hallways or bathrooms, or the other spaces that are necessary for a school but aren't used for learning and teaching. We are now at the high school level. Again, not many major changes, and there are similarities to those proposed at the elementary and middle school levels. This update is for our traditionally sized high schools that are designed for 1,850 students and 96 instructional units. Again, the media center will designate collaborative space as multi-purpose space so it can serve a variety of academic uses. And we are again proposing a washer and dryer area for custodial use only. Finally, we are updating our ed specs document to include flag football as one of the sports using our multi-purpose practice fields. Once again, the overall square footage remains close to the same. Only 150 square feet has been added due to the proposed washer and dryer space. Let's now look at the proposed ed specs for optional programs. When we say optional programs, we are talking about the programs some schools house in their building based on the educational needs of their students. For example, this could be a special education program for specific disabilities, a career tech program, or performing arts space. In most cases, these optional programs don't expand the school's physical space, but instead modify the existing area to include the program. With these parameters in mind, we are creating ed specs for the K-5 LEAP program for students with challenging behavioral issues. The LEAP program currently is housed at 2 locations, one in North Fulton at Vickery Mill Elementary School and one in South Fulton at College Park Elementary School. These proposed educational specifications will guide space usage if the program expands to additional elementary sites. For the LEAP model, here you can see that we've added administrative space, classrooms with private restrooms, a multi-purpose room, a quiet room, and restrooms for the staff. A secured corridor with emergency exits also is included. Our ed specs align with the Fulton County Schools strategic plan, which prioritizes educational programming. Schools sometimes request space to house special programs, and we are proposing one flex classroom for elementary and middle schools. When requested, this flex space can be used for STEAM labs at the elementary level or music or performing arts space at the middle school level. For high schools, no updates are being proposed for optional instructional programs since the current ed specs already account for many program-specific spaces. If you've made it this far, thank you for giving your time to us. This has been a lot of information to share and absorb, but it's important to involve our community in how we plan for new school construction and improvements to our existing schools. The school board will receive the 2025 Ed Specs proposal on April 17th and plans to vote in May. They welcome your input and thoughts on this topic. We've set up a thought exchange survey you can use to share your feedback. Please take a moment to comment on what you've seen and heard today. Feel free to watch this video as many times as you need to become more informed and to guide your thoughts. You can find the survey on the same webpage you found this video. Once again, thank you for your involvement in this important project.